It's lovely to have you here. Your presence speaks volumes. So thank you. And Darian, thank you for that. I'd like to thank all of you in the North Shore Women's Centre. This is such a wonderful gift, and I really thank you and honour you for the work that you're doing in our community. We have to keep it going. Many of you will know about my story with my one-woman theatre play, 500 Letters. And you will know that I have now taken it to 50 centres throughout New Zealand. But some of you won't know how it started, so I thought I'd just tell you how it started. I had a very unusual phone call one day from Lauren Hughes, who was at the Performing Arts Centre, at the Aotea Centre. And she said, "Pauline, we've got your 2 books here, and we wondered if we could turn your life into a one-woman theatre play." I said, "A what?" And she repeated it. And I said, "Well, who would act that?" And she said, "Well, we thought you could." I said, "Well, I couldn't. I'm over 60 years of age and I've never been on the stage in my life. I don't know upstage from downstage." I didn't tell her that I had been called a drama queen all my life. Well, she invited me to come in and meet the director, who was an ex-student from 1974. I couldn't decide whether to accept the challenge because on the one hand I was afraid of failure, and on the other hand it could give great benefits. So I thought about my long-standing and wonderful severely disabled friend at Tauranga Hospital, who had always reinforced what my dad had taught: "To thine own self be true." And James always said to me, "Tell the truth." But I knew that meant I had to face the consequences. So I agreed to accept the challenge. And Margaret Mary Hollins, the director, we really struggled to find ways to make meaning out of the struggles and how to portray the meaning on stage. But we set about it, and as I said, I have played in 50 theatres throughout the country. Thank you. One of the things I've learned as I've gone through life is that when I faced challenges, changes had to be made. And the changes in turn gave me new opportunities for new beginnings. I'll give you a couple of examples. At school, I experienced huge learning difficulties and always failed. Those learning difficulties led me on to have a very unique and special relationship with my students over 40 years. And I know that's true because now those students come to me and ask me to be their marriage celebrant or to do the funeral services for their nanas and granddads or others near to them. And at this moment, I would like to thank Pinehurst School and my chief executive principal for letting me be in her school as a relief teacher. This is a wonderful gift for me because I am in touch with little ones from 5 to 18, and I think all of us need to be in touch with young people. Sexual abuse when I was a nun forced me to leave the convent after 12 years. Eventually, I married and had 4 children. What a blessing those children are to me. When my little girl was 10 years of age, she collapsed at school and had a massive brain hemorrhage which caused a stroke. Of course, I plunged into despair, as any mother would. But that experience led to research, 3 pieces of research which have impacted strongly on our health system in New Zealand. And without that, there would be many families in New Zealand today who would not be getting the support that they need. Restructuring of my position at school led me to have to find new work, and I decided at 55 to set up my first business as a motivational speaker. It was a steep learning curve, I have to add. And the last one I want to share with you is that in 1999, with great excitement, I bought my first little unit, not knowing it was a leaky building. And to date, I've been levied over $100,000. And what it's doing for me is helping me to discover ways of coping with that sort of trauma. I think it's quite true that challenges lead to changes and then new opportunities come. And one of the highlights that's come out of my life is watching the power of story develop. For example, what is the story that I tell myself every day about my leaky building? Is the story that I tell myself about it giving me hope or giving me despair? What is the story that I tell myself about my health? What is the story I tell myself about my workplace, about my family? What is the story I tell myself about happiness? A few weeks ago, I was asked to do a funeral. The man was 94, and I asked for his story, and this is what it was. He was born in, when he was 20, he worked with his dad. He traveled overseas once and liked Vienna. He watched TV1, and he liked dogs, but he never had one. I was stunned. I was so shocked. Who was that man? What were his likes and dislikes? What made him laugh? What were his skills? What values did he live by? There were so many unanswered questions. And it made me think more and more about the importance of your stories, all our stories. We all have stories that must be told. I began to look at some of the research around surviving trauma, because many of our stories get lost after trauma. We clam up, we seize up. And there's a lovely book, The How of Happiness, that touched me. And the author says that in the post-traumatic growth research, it demonstrates that we have 3 different ways of functioning when faced with trauma.